You got to start reducing it. So I said, black folk right now, 100% consumers and zero producers. I said, we won't have a snowball's chance. They started killing off people who are based on what they produce. And but we do produce, but again, we produce in terms of someone else's culture, and they use that to enhance themselves and enrich themselves economically. For instance, again, let's go with the big money. Let me use examples on that. Use some examples. Let's say boxing. But now, about 10 years ago, right, boxing, black folk made up about 75% all the professional boxers in the country. They made the big money. 75% were boxers. Of boxers were blacks. And those guys were getting sometimes $1 million, $2 million for a fight. Big money. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, most of the boxers coming in the country, they're not going to be blacks anymore. They're going to be increasingly coming from other places, even from Mexico or from around Europe. Any place, anybody's going to come in and compete to take that culture away from black people. Boxing was our culture. We had it with Sugar Ray Robinson and Joe Louis and on down the line, Sandy Sadler and all of them. Those, and you couldn't beat them. Art Marchie Moore, known for being 47 years of age and still wearing the crown.
At age 47?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's right. Wow. They used to call him the well, I can't think what's the thing that fights the cobra snake. It's called what the what's that little rabbit little mouse thing?
The mouse?
No, he's not a mouse. He's a little. He loves to go after a cobra. They overseas they have a lot of shows with him. I can't think what they call it now, but he would tear a cobra up. A cobra strike like this is so fast and poisonous. I mean, I used to go into Africa. I used to lay out sometime and lay out reading in the sun. They said, "Man, come in because those damn cobras will be coming in." Some of that sun started going out a little bit. The cobras are coming. The damn cobras 20 feet long and maybe that high off the ground. They come in with standing up, coming like this, you know, with the head up and the half on the ground, other half on the ground, other half up in the air. They move like that fast. But he could. That little animal was faster than a cobra.
Oh, the mongoose.
Mongoose, that's it. Mongoose. See, the mongoose would tear a cobra up, and so I used to love to watch that overseas. He would just play around with him, and that cobra he hitting at him. He just play with it, and he'd get it. They used to call Archie Moore the mongoose. That's what I was going to tell you. But later on, and we moved down from boxing, we went to baseball. Blacks were made up something like about 60% of the baseball players and about 65% of the football players, and coming on down the line. But those were our areas. That's where we got our heroes from. That's where we got our culture. But we don't have any museums with our culture. That's our stuff. I mean, not only for sports. We don't have where is the historical sporting place for blacks? For where all our culture, how are they earning a living? My uncle played with one of the black baseball teams. They came and destroyed all that. And now, same thing in music. I grew up in, as I said, music all the way back. We produced all the music, but now the whites own and control it, call it rock and roll. It used to be rhythm and blues. And so we do every damn thing wrong and don't even do wrong right. Okay? So I said, learn how to use your culture and build your business on your culture. And that's what we're going to get into today. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that for some examples. Go ahead, though.
How do you protect your industry so that they don't get stolen away from you? I mean, what do you suggest on that? If because people will say, well, why should we build a Black Wall Street or build an industry if it's going to just be taken away like everything else?
Don't let them take it away. With a common thing, why do you let them do it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, see what amazes me about blacks is they let somebody do something, then say, well, why do they always beat up on me, mess with me, take advantage of me? Why am I always under a doctrine of unequal exchange? They always taking advantage of me. Why don't you stand up and say no? I think Malcolm X was saying that, and also 2 or 3 black leaders in history, like VC back in the early 1800s, said that, and Prosner by 1815, 1816 who's one of my black heroes, that says, he said, "I catch you bending over, I'm gonna break your back." He arranged the largest organization for a slave revolt in the country, Prosner, Visa and Prosner, and those we don't, because we let people take advantage of us. We, under meritorious manumission, we want to be acceptable to, and as I said, we want to be, if anything in society needs to be carried, whether it's water or food or anything, black folk always want to be the carrier. And that's why, as I told you before, that the farmers used to say to the visitor, we always make the wilderness ass carry the heaviest load. And so black folk always want to be the wilderness ass on carrying everybody's load. If there's discrimination, which is vastly different from racism, they're about 100 miles different, but people confuse those so they can make sure blacks don't get any benefits out of racism. But if somebody discriminates against a female, they say, well, you know, so blacks need to go out there and help these females. They discriminate against the gays. Black people need to go out there and hit the streets and protest hatred against transsexuals and all transgenders. Anything, blacks go out there and carry their load. But they never want to carry the load for their own people.
Mm. But you know, I think that's an important point too. I think in terms of just this idea that we will brag about carrying the load for other people, but we don't necessarily see the value in carrying the load for ourselves. And I think that's really strange to me. I don't really get that. And so I want to ask you about this, Dr. Anderson.
Okay.
So I know, and I think you kind of hit on this. You mentioned in step number 2 that we should dominate business ownership and management where black people are the majority of the population. And I remember you talked about Detroit and what should have happened in Detroit and what should happen in places like Detroit. And if you don't mind, I wanted to go to step 3, which is focus on wealth building and restoring the economic intent of the original civil rights laws. And I'll read the first couple sentences to you, and I'll let you take it from there. And I can read more if you want me to.
Oh, you go ahead.
You said on September 7, 2000, USA Today printed an article about racial and ethnic household incomes hitting an all-time high between 1989 and 1999. During that period, the median income of Black Americans was below Asians, whites, and Hispanics. The article indicated the income gap between rich and poor was not getting wider. The article implied that even though Blacks were on the bottom, they were not too far below Hispanics, so conditions were improving for everyone. What the article failed to address was why Black Americans were still fixed on the lowest income rung. So I'll let you take over from there. But you also said more specifically, it should have addressed why Asians and Hispanics, 90% of whom have been in the United States less than 30 years, can have median incomes that are above and nearly double a Black population that has been here for over 400 years. Can you speak to that, Dr. Anderson?
Yes, sir. See, and what happens is that I think someplace I may have included that someplace else in the book. But see, as these groups come into the country, the minute they cross that border line in the South between, let's say, it was for Hispanics between Mexico and the United States, their human capital increase in value. See, nobody ever points that out. Their human capital increase in value. For instance, the typical value right now of a Hispanic living in, let's say, in any of those southern countries, south of our border, their human value might be worth maybe typically about $25,000 or $30,000, period. But as soon as they come across the United States border, that thing goes up somewhere over about $250,000 in value. Their value as in this country increases substantially when they come into the country. Why? It's because they bring in with them a culture that elevates them, and they got and keeps them above Black folk while pushing Black folks down. For instance, they come in and say, well, yeah, I'm a Hispanic, and I don't speak English. The country then jumps in and sets aside a significant amount of money, and to be able to set up programs to teach them specifically the English language. See, they don't do that for Blacks, and they have special programs for accommodating them. They come in and say, well, I can come in the United States and start me a business based on my culture and the prevailing cultural trends in that society. So they can come in and say, I can get me a pickup and put 2 lawnmowers on it and go out and earn a living. I can take over all the lawns in any white neighborhood anytime I want them as a Hispanic. Just by the fact that I got me a pickup truck and I'm cutting lawns, I can open up 3 or 4 lawn service agencies that takes care of it. I can open up any kind of agency I want to because whites are not opposed to me as a Hispanic and a white Hispanic competing with them in a business. I can go into the electric business and putting in installing electric wires and security systems, but they're opposed to black folk doing it. And so their human value goes up. That's why if you look at the human value they place on any group of people coming into the United States, you'll find that the highest ones will probably come from either Australia or someplace in England. Their human capital value might be worth $700,000 to $800,000. But you get down to black folk, it'll be less than $10,000. So you have a drop from almost $750,000 on value, dropping all the way down to almost nothing when you get to black folk. And there should be a chart in that book someplace showing you that. But nobody ever gave black folk any human value, capital value, because we don't. Okay, here. Okay, go to page 152 in your book. Empowernomics.
Okay.
Okay. Now you see that where it says world distribution of wealth and human capital.
Yep.
Okay. And look at the Switzerland now, and see where Switzerland is. And this is again without the thousands. You have to put the thousands on the end of it.
Yeah. What I'm gonna do is try to put it on screen so everybody can see this. So if you give me 1 second, I can get this done now, because I think everybody should have it up. So, and maybe you can look at it on as one of the slides. So give me 1 second, Dr. Anderson. I am dutifully trying to be a good teaching assistant here. Let me see. All right, and
I think that's where you should find it on that page. I was trying to.
All right, I found it, and I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to actually run to the bathroom real quick, but I will share my screen. There you go. Can you see it, Dr. Anderson?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good. I'll see what it has on there. Is yeah. Okay. Okay.
So do you want to talk us through?
Yeah. Okay. See what it tells you there is that based on per capita value, gross domestic products, and let's look at that one, at the per capita gross domestic products, GDP. And Switzerland now has 36. Let's see, in this case, 36,000. And then look at blacks down in Nigeria at the bottom, 278. Do you see that? Okay, you're not there. And the engineers and scientists per million of population, starting with Japan at 3,500, blacks down in Africa at 43. World distribution of wealth per country per capita. Australia, as I said a few seconds ago, is $750,000. In Canada, in Japan, United States, Russia, Mexico, and go down to the bottom and get to it. When they get to the biggest African countries, and it goes down to almost $1,000. Now, anybody should be concerned, say, how is it that these people got outside the United States got some more wealth, and it's better received when they come to this country? They pick up those values, and how can they pick it up? Because they can. That's their culture. Those are cultural values. And they can go build businesses around any of those things anytime they want to. You can build anything, products, clothes, furniture about Sweden, Japan, Germany, and you can build anything around the cultures of any of those countries above black folk. I think you were out, Dr. Watkins, but just look at the domestic per capita over there.
Yeah, I see that.
Now you have 36 at 36.3 there. But go down to the bottom, you see when it bring into the black countries. See what that the last one, the last bottom one is the last one. Nigeria is down to 278. Now, what's the biggest difference between those top one into the thousands and blacks and just barely making 278? Let's try engineers and scientists per million of production population rather. Japan is way up there. Look at the engineers and scientists. So if they come into the country, then that's why they get these big jobs with the big companies, because their value, their perceived value based on their culture. Japan, obviously the Japanese, they must be smart as an engineer and scientist. That's the first thing that goes to a white person's mind. Then the Europeans are behind that. But go all the way down to the bottom again. When you get into Africa and Burundi, places like that, look at that, 43, now they can't make 100. That's value, so people can buy those, they can produce products. They got a reputation for the products having quality because they promote that attitude. Look at the last one I'm going to show you, the world distribution of wealth. Look at per country, per capita. Australia, I told you a few seconds ago before I looked at your chart. I said it's about 750 million. See, it's 835. Now look down. Now go down to the bottom where you get into the black country again, Ethiopia and Black Africa. It's down just barely making 1,000. So they come in here. So they come in with a culture their culture is already conditioned Americans to be receptive to them and to look at them through positive eyes and to seek their products and services and goods or their companionship in deals and businesses. And so consequently, they can come in here and they can build restaurants. Almost everyone in those groups in there can build restaurants, one of the easiest things. And you can probably find those restaurants. But I guarantee you on either one of those three columns, the ones at the bottom, you're gonna never find those things being advertised. Tell me when you've ever seen a Nigerian advertised for a